Um, and so we are talking, as I said, about resume and cover letter. I'm Eric Pye. I'm the Student Services Advisor, and I'm the person who provides the articling search supports that I described a little earlier. I've spoken a little bit about the resume as a marketing document, and on the left here you can see um, uh, the first page of a two-page resume, and you can see that it's been designed to be appealing. There's a lot of white space. It's something that the different sections are clearly demarcated, and so it's something that a recruiter would be able to find their way around pretty easily. And we'll go into the details of this as we go through. The first thing to be aware of is something called buying motivators. And I'll just give you an example. Let's imagine that it's fall and I need to buy a sweater. And so I go into one of the local clothing shops and I'm looking around at the sweaters, and uh, the the shop assistant comes up to me and asks me what I'm looking for, and I tell her a sweater. Um, the shop assistant is not going to go around the store and show me every sweater that they have. She's going to do some questions and try to find out what it is exactly that I like. So, am I looking for a wool sweater or a cotton sweater? What color am I looking for? Do I want to have a round neck or a V-neck? Is it going to be a long sleeve sweater or a short sleeve sweater? And those kinds of things. And what she's trying to do is she's trying to find out what my buying motivators are. What are the things that I'm looking for in a sweater, so that she can show me the appropriate sweaters and she can ignore the sweaters that don't really fit my needs. And so when it comes to a resume and it comes to a legal employer and legal recruiter, the recruiter is shopping for a new worker and they have certain needs that they're looking for. And those needs are expressed typically in the job posting. And so what you need to do is, like the shop assistant, you need to present information in the resume that meets the needs of the customer or the recruiter. And so you need to be showing them the information that tells them whether you match the needs expressed in the job posting. And you don't want to show them the other sweaters. You don't want to show them things that are not really relevant to that job posting. And I'll talk a lot about relevancy through the presentation. And the important thing to keep in mind there is that the resume is not a history of your past, but it's a story of how you fit the job that you're applying for. And so what this means is that there will be a lot of information that you have about yourself that you feel is important, but you need to be really careful and edit what you tell in your resume to make sure that you're telling the employer what's important for them. So some of the buying motivators that a typical articling recruiter is going to have, and so these are the things that they're going to be looking for in people who apply for an articling position, are related to three things. So you've got the activities of the job, you've got the required qualifications, and you've got personal attributes. And so we've got some shown here on this slide. So for the activities of the job, things that articling students are going to do a lot of, they're going to do client interviews. They're going to do research, legal research. They're going to do drafting of documents and of memorandums. They're going to advocate for their clients. They're going to potentially do some negotiation with opposing counsel, and they're going to work within particular legal areas. So some firms practice immigration law, and other firms practice employment law, and other firms practice a variety of different kinds of law. And so you need to make sure that those activities and those areas of law, if you are able to speak to those and you have experience with them, that you're going to be presenting that information. And you're going to perhaps avoid other job activities that aren't relevant to being an articling student. Required qualifications are pretty simple. Everyone has to have a law degree, and if you're internationally trained, you need to have your NCA Certificate of Qualifications or something equivalent. And you're going to need to present that as important information in the resume, particularly in the cover letter. And then personal attributes. So one of the things I've spoken with a lot of legal recruiters about what they look for in an articling student. And one of the things I found interesting is that more often than not, they don't actually require so much the experience of like the activities of the job, but what they do look at is the personal attributes. And there's particular things that they look for that are transferable from any job to articling. And so even if you haven't worked in a legal context before, you can still present yourself as a very strong candidate if you have the required qualifications and you have the personal attributes that they're looking for. So customer service, problem solving, teamwork, communication, community involvement, time management, languages, intercultural, entrepreneurial, the hunger to succeed, and some humility. And by humility, I'm talking about for somebody who may be very, very, very experienced, are you pushing how much experience you have trying to impress with that, or are you pushing the fact that you're really hungry to learn about um, working in the law in Canada? And so this is particularly one where we have an experienced internationally trained lawyer. Are they going to be able to fit into an articling entry role in a law firm um, and accept feedback from a principal and so on and so forth? So these are the things that the employers are looking for. Okay, and so these are the things that you need to focus your resume on. Based on those, what you want to do is you want to create a value proposition for yourself. And so this could be a paragraph or a list of things that you put together about yourself. You're going to want to do some self-evaluation here and really think about what are the things that I have in my wheelhouse, things that I've got experience with, things, skills that I have, competencies that I have, transferable skills that I have that are going to meet the needs of the employer. So for example, which articling relevant activities have you performed in a legal or a non-legal context? And so if we go back to the buying motivators, for example, client interviews, you may not have done client interviews in a legal context, but you may have interviewed clients in a sales context or in an engineering context or some other kind of work. Do you have the required qualifications? For most cases, the people who are applying for articling jobs do have the law degree and, if necessary, the certificate of qualifications. And then which personal attributes can you demonstrate? So, for example, customer service, uh, it's fine to say in a resume that I have customer service skills, but can you actually demonstrate that? Can you give some examples of times where you've used customer service, um, where you've, listened to customers to find out what their problems are, where you've problem solved the issues that they're having, and then you've presented them with alternatives and helped them to solve the problem? You're going to want to think about going into some detail about those and not just saying, oh, I have strong customer service skills. So that there is a little bit about the value proposition, and it's going to be the theme of your job application. So once you've created your value proposition, your resume needs to focus on that value proposition. And if you have items in your resume that don't fit the value proposition, then you may need to omit those because they're just going to cause confusion and clutter and make your resume fuller than it needs to be. And so for each item on your value proposition list, or for each item in your resume and in your cover letter, you need to think about, is this relevant to the target role? If it's not, I'm going to omit it. If it is, I'm going to keep it and perhaps expand it because there may be more detail I can give about it.